Alright, so looking at the Rebel cards in IACP, this is for a video for returning players. So first we're going to look at all of the Rebel cards that have gotten updated. So these were existing cards in the game before IACP that have gotten updates. And then after that we're going to look at all of the new cards, new figures that were added with IACP that had not existed in Imperial Assault before this. So starting off with Luke Skywalker, as you can see here. So Luke Skywalker has not changed at all, other than he has gone down from 12 points to 10. He originally actually dropped from 12 to 11 for quite a while. Then in Season 5, we tried dropping him down to 10, and that felt a lot better. Um, for those that remember him being strong in the original game, he was niche, like he saw some niche play in the original meta, especially in Jabba's realm when he first came out. But with the release of Heart of the Empire and Han Solo at 10 points, Luke just was completely outclassed by Han Solo at 10, and Han Solo at 10 became kind of the new baseline for Queen Pieces, along with IG-88 also completely outclassed Luke Skywalker in terms of power for a 12-point figure. IG could basically do what Luke did, attack twice in the same activation. He had a similar command card that let him activate again. But he just hit so much harder, and he was so much more consistent, and he was just much better than Luke in terms of what he could do. So Luke is now at 10, and he feels like he's in a pretty good place. He's still not like top tier like monster, but he is solid, and he actually is a card that leads a specific archetype with force users that is a deflection based archetype where you have lots of cards and abilities and force users that can send damage back at the attacker, and that's a really fun archetype to play with Luke. He's also just good as in any kind of force user list. But up next we'll talk about the Wookie Warriors. So these guys were they were originally 11 points in FFG. They're unchanged otherwise. They've just been dropped down 2 points to 9. Um, but they're actually quite good now, and let's talk about another card that's been updated. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and I want to talk about Fury of Kashyyyk. So this is an updated card. This used to cost 2. It used to be an attachment. It still has the ability that whenever a friendly Wookiee suffers 3 or more damage, that figure becomes focused. However, that is now a universal ability because it's a skirmish upgrade, so that applies to all Wookiees in the list. Additionally, it now gives all friendly Wookiees reach, so that applies mainly to the elite Wookie Warriors and the regular Wookie Warriors, since Garkon already has reach. And while a friendly elite Wookiee is attacking a figure within 2 spaces, so only elite, so this doesn't apply to regular Wookie Warriors or Drakata, because those are gray bordered. But Chewbacca, elite Wookie Warriors, Garkon. Oh no, wait, Garkon's elite in ICP. So yeah. So if there's another friendly Wookiee within 2 spaces of the defender, you apply Pierce 1 to the attack results. So basically, if they attack as a pair or as a group, they'll get an extra Pierce 1 on their attacks. So this makes Wookiees a lot more powerful, and it's made them actually pretty meta viable and very competitive. So you might expect to see some Wookie Warriors with Fury of Kashyyyk in an IACP list. And we might as well talk about Garkon since we're talking about Wookiees. Garkon's had a big update. This is from Season 2, so he went from 8 points to 7. Everything else is pretty similar, I believe, to his original card. We'll take a look here. This is the original. +1 block, search for Pierce 1, search for focus. Oh, health 10. Actually, he's been quite updated quite a bit. So 13 health. Now he has search for Pierce 2 and search for +1. He gets automatic bleed. He has reach and he gets that +1 block. He still has charge, which is move number of spaces up to your speed, then you perform an attack. However, he now has brutal cleave instead of his other ability. After you resolve an attack during activation, you can suffer 1 strain to perform an attack using 1 red and yellow die targeting a different figure or object, and that's limit once per activation. So Garkon's okay in ICP. Brutal Cleave is situational since you have to attack a different target. However, there's lots of good command cards for Garkon available, like Wild Fury and the card we just saw in the previous video, Overwhelming Impact. But he is, yeah, he's pretty good. So next up, I think that's all the Wookiees that we have. Chewbacca and Drakata are untouched in IACP. So let's look at some Force users here. So Dialla was added in Season 2. She has also had quite the update. We'll look at her original card here. Used to cost 7, now costs 8. She used to have 8 health, and she had Shattering Blow. In her new version, she loses Shattering Blow. She's also replaced the Surge for Cover 2 with a Surge for +2. She has 12 health and Speed 5. She now has Battle Meditation, which focuses her when she attacks, so she automatically attacks as a red-green-green figure. But she doesn't benefit from being focused by something like Gideon. And then she has her Foresight has been replaced by Defensive Stance, so it's still a defensive reroll, but she can't reroll into a dodge. Instead, she will get 2 blocks and an evade. And now she has Force Throw, which is one of her most powerful new abilities. Once during activation, she can suffer 1 strain to choose another small figure within 3 spaces and push it up to 2 spaces. And that is friendly or hostile. So very useful, especially as a brawler. She has access to Parting Blow, which she can start with Force Throw. Or she can Force Throw something to her, so she can pummel it. So Dialla is great. Let's talk about more Force users here. We'll kind of skip around. Ahsoka is exactly the same as she was in FFG. She's just cost 7. Same thing, Kanan Jarrus. He was 8, and now he costs 7. Otherwise, he's exactly the same. So we should note that Spectre Cell in IACP has 2 points to play with instead of just 1. But it's something you don't see very often in the IACP meta for whatever reason. Luke Skywalker, Hero Luke is exactly the same as he was, but he is 7 points instead of 10, and he's pretty balanced at that. Obi-Wan Kenobi has had some changes. He's still 7 points. Shouldn't have that skirmish symbol. He has now a Guardian in addition to his original Force user typing. Most of his stats are the same. However, Alter Mind has changed, so it now can affect figures with a figure cost of 9 or less instead of figure cost of, I believe the original was 5 or less. And then Strike Me Down has been added, so this is when an attack targeting you is declared, you may reduce your figure cost by 3, and then if you do, you're defeated. So this gives Obi some control over his ability to use Into the Force. It also means he can reduce his cost when he's defeated by 3, so when he dies, he'll only give the opponent 4 points. And then this plays really nicely with his original ability, which is when you're defeated, you choose another friendly figure, and that figure becomes focused. So Obi sees fringe play, still very slow, and has just his regular melee attack. Alright, so moving on, let's go back to the top of the list here. We'll talk about Varina, who's updated in Season 4. So Varina, quite a bit of change here. Let's bring her card up. So you can see this is her original card at 8 points. Still has the +1 evade, still has 11 health. She now has a blue-green-yellow attack. She surges for +2 and surge for Pierce 1, so that's also the same. The big changes are close quarters is now different, so it says move up to 1 space, then perform an attack using an adjacent hostile figure's attack type and attack pool. Remove 1 die from the target's defense pool and apply +1 accuracy to the attack results. So that's a big change because the original close quarters you had to attack. You could only target an adjacent figure, and you can only use that figure's attack pool. The new version, you can target any figure within her line of sight using an adjacent figure's attack pool, hostile figure. And you get to remove 1 defense die, so that's quite powerful. And then she still has Fighting Knife. Fighting Knife is actually different now, so instead of performing an attack with it, she used to just do a 1 red die attack with +1 damage. She now rolls a red die, and an adjacent figure suffers damage equal to the damage results. And finally, she has a new ability, Improvised Cover, while defending if you are adjacent to an object, so that includes things like terminals, objective tokens, doors, anything that is a token in play that's not a figure is an object, or a non-friendly figure, so that includes neutral figures as well. A non-friendly figure other than the attacker, apply +1 block to the defense results. So she has pretty low health for her points, but she can get quite tanky with, especially with an extra armor token, and if you play her well with improvised cover. So Varina is a fun one. Still a spy and a brawler, just like her original card. Alright, next up we have Echo-based troopers. These were updated just recently in Season 6. So they are now 7 points instead of 8. They still have efficient travel. Their surge abilities have been updated, so now they have surge for +2, and their surge for accuracy has been changed to surge for accuracy and pierce 1. Their frontline ability has changed, so it says while attacking, if a target is within 3 spaces, you may replace 1 blue die in your attack pool with 1 red die, and you apply +2 accuracy to the accuracy results. So that's important. That means that they don't have to worry about missing when they're attacking something at range 3, and they would be rolling red-green and they could potentially miss on accuracy. That is not a problem anymore. And they also have a new ability, Cortosis Weave, which is an update from their previous ability. It now reduces all pierce on their attacks they're defending against by 2 to a minimum of 0. So built-in Zillow technique for these guys. They're pretty fun. So next up is Leia. Leia has been reduced from 8 points to 7, otherwise no changes. Rebel troopers have been reduced from 9 points to 7, otherwise no changes. Also, I should note these are not considered strong at all in IACP, so I would avoid these if you're looking for a rebel trooper option. Okay, Fenn Cygnus, he was in Season 2. Another big change from the core set. So he is now 7 points instead of 9. I think almost everything changed about this figure. Yeah, so he's pretty much a completely new figure from his original version. So he's got +1 accuracy and pierce 1 built in. He's got a surge for +2 accuracy. He has a surge for blast 1 and recover 1. Blue, red, green attack and 12 health. He's a trooper leader. He has Havoc Shot. After you resolve an attack, if it did not miss, you may suffer 1 strain to choose up to 2 figures within 2 spaces of the target space in your line of sight. Those figures suffer 1 damage. So basically like Heavy Fire, except he doesn't get a bunch of harmful conditions. And like Heavy Fire, he can choose to affect the target with this, since it is a figure within 2 spaces of itself. So you can deal an extra damage to the target in addition to having that built-in Pierce 1. And then his second new ability is Tactical Movement. At the start of your activation, you may choose a friendly figure within 3 spaces. That figure gains 2 movement points. So he's a really nice kind of hybrid offense support figure, especially in trooper lists. So next up, we'll talk about Cotun, another new trooper, or updated trooper. This was updated in Season 5. So she's been given, you can see she has the professional keyword up here. This is something that was started with Season 6, where certain keywords will be up in the ability bar. So professional is while you are attacking, you may reroll a die. She still has surge for +2 damage and +3 accuracy. She still has 11 health, blue, blue, green. Her arms distribution has been changed. So it is now after deployment and at the start of your activation, a friendly figure within 3 spaces may gain 1 power token. So this is different from her original ability, which she could only give a power token to another figure. Now she can give one to herself as well. And she gets a bonus power token during deployment. Her Dead Precise ability has also been changed. I'll put up her figure here. You can see the original figure. Dead Precise is when another friendly figure within 3 spaces spends a power token while attacking. You apply -1 dodge to the defense results. That has been updated. So now it's when any friendly figure within 3 spaces is attacking and spend a power token. Not only does it apply -1 dodge, it also allows for a reroll. So that's a really nice ability, and that applies to herself as well, to her own attacks. And finally, she has a brand new ability. So this is Squad Cohesion. This is based on a similar ability from the campaign with her. So it's when a friendly rebel figure within 3 spaces declares an attack, it may spend a power token from a friendly rebel figure within 3 spaces of itself. So this allows Cotun and her squad mates to basically be able to use power tokens, offensive power tokens, from their other squad mates when they're attacking. It makes you much more efficient with power tokens so that you're not wasting any, or you don't have any sitting on a figure that can't use them or has already activated, etc. So she's a really fun power token based figure you can play with in Rebels. Next up is, ooh, this is a fun one. So Lando has been updated in IACP. This is from Season 4. Surge for +2 accuracy, surge for +2. So let's talk about what changed. So he's still 6. He still has 8 health, green, yellow attack, black defense. That's all the same. His resourceful and gambit abilities are exactly the same as the FFG version. He still has surge for +2. His surge for stun. Excuse me. So the surge for hide and stun has been replaced with surge for pierce at 1 and hide. We were trying to reduce some of the stun that was happening in the earlier seasons of ICP. But so the brand new ability, the change, is the Shrewd Scoundrel ability. So it says, while attacking or defending, before you re-roll a die, you may guess aloud a number from 0 to 2. After rerolls, if the number of damage or block symbols on that die matches the number you guessed, double that die's results. Limit once per activation. So the way that works is it combines really nicely with his other 2 abilities. So let's say you're attacking with a green and a yellow, and you get a not so great result on, let's say, the yellow die. And you're close enough and you say, well, I'm going to re-roll that with Resourceful, and I'm going to use Gambit to change it to a red die. So then you'll use Shrewd Scoundrel and say, I will guess 2, and you'll guess, what you're guessing is how many damage symbols are going to appear on that die. If you get 2, and let's say you get the 2 damage and a surge ability, or surge result, you double the entire result, so now you've got 4 damage on that die and 2 surges on that die. This also doubles the accuracy he rolls. For defense dice, it will double any results he rolls. So like the dodge will get doubled. So if you get 0 and reroll a white die, and you get 2 dodges, if that's relevant for some, like if the attacker has deadly. So this is a really fun ability that rewards knowledge of the dice, and it rewards it quite handsomely if you can double your dice results. Alright, next up is Davith has gotten an update. So Davith is still very similar to his base form. Health, attack, points cost, surge abilities are all the same. Oh, except actually his surge for +1 in hide has become a surge for +2 in hide. And then Fell Swoop costs 1 surge to activate instead of 2 surges. So he is just much more reliable as a damage dealer, able to use that Fell Swoop ability. And his Vanish ability, Van card, very important to him, is still the same. So Davith is a lot of fun. Next up, CT1701 has gone down from 7 points to 6. We'll pull up his original card here. I believe he has the same surge abilities. Yep, surge for +1, surge for gain 1 power token, surge for +2 accuracy and weaken. Barrage is still the same, so you can still target the defender with it, etc. Adds a white die. And he has a new ability now, which is Cover Fire. So after you resolve an attack, actually I think this is, so this is a retrain on Pin Them Down. So after you resolve an attack, you distribute 1 block token to a friendly figure within 3 spaces, so that can be him. And then if it did not miss, you may discard 1 condition or power token from the target, which I think is, yeah, same as Pin Them Down. So it basically gives out block tokens when he attacks, which means with Barrage he's giving out 2 block tokens every time he attacks. So he's been quite good. He's also still a trooper and a guardian. So that is CT. Next up we have Jin Odon, which is quite a strong figure in ICP actually. So this is 5 points versus the original, I think was 5. And it's been a while since I looked at the original versions. So this is the original. He had similar abilities here. So now it still has Surge for Stun and Pierce 1, still has Surge for +2 accuracy, +2 damage. And now in addition to that, she has an additional +1 accuracy, +1 damage built in. So she has a very Greedo-esque attack, actually stronger than Greedo, I think. She still has her Hair Trigger ability. That lets her attack at the start of a hostile figure's activation. Her Nimble ability has been replaced, so she now has Sidewinder. So after she resolves an attack, she can suffer 1 damage to move up to 2 spaces. That's once per round, so that's very good. And then she still has Cunning, +1 block for each evade result rolled. And her health is now 8 instead of 6. Still speed 5, so that is Jin Odon. Nice little 5-point figure for Rebel lists. Next we have Loku. So Loku was increased from 4 points to 5. His health went up from 4 points to 8. He still has the same abilities and attack dice. So +4, oh no, he now has +4 accuracy, but he still rolls red and blue. And instead of the 2 surge abilities, he now just has 1 surge ability for +2. Now his abilities have changed. I think he did have priority target. No, he has completely new abilities from his originals. So let's talk about him. Set your sights at the start of the mission. Place a recon token on a hostile figure. While a friendly figure is attacking a figure with a recon token, you apply Pierce 1 to the attack results. So, and then priority target. Figures do not block line of sight for your attacks. And Mon Cala Special Forces. When you declare an attack targeting a figure with a recon token, you become focused. He has also gained the hunter trait. So he used to just be a spy, and now he is a hunter, to give him access to hunter cards for rebel lists. So this is a fun card for, you know, it now works a lot more like his campaign version, where he's using recon tokens. He gets 1 recon token per game basically, and he marks a unique figure on the opponent's side, and then every attack that targets that figure gets Pierce 1. So it creates quite an interesting mind game with the opponent trying to keep their figure safe from your recon tokens. Alright, next up we have Sasuka, who I believe is from Season 3. Sasuka has been reduced from 6 points to 4, so now much easier to bring in those scum figures in Rebel lists, although you're still going to have to pay 4 points to do it. But you do get a 6 health figure. I think that went up. Oh, it went down. So she has 1 health less than her original version, but that's because she's 2 points cheaper. She still has all of her same surge abilities that you see here. She actually has +2 accuracy instead of +1. And then Unstable Device and Shady Contacts have not changed. She is still a smuggler and a spy. So basically you're paying 3 points for a spy smuggler figure, and then you get 1 point. You're paying 1 point for half of a temporary alliance with Sasuka. Alright, next up, our final updated figure is Mern, who is updated in Season 5. Mern has also changed quite a bit, although she still has some of her original abilities. She's still 4 points. Her health has gone from 6 to 9. She has a blue-yellow attack die, still speed 4. Spy leader. Her surge abilities are slightly different. She still has surge +2, surge and surge +2 accuracy. She also now has a surge for hide and a innate +2 accuracy bonus. Her false orders is still the same, however it now can target figures with a figure cost of 4 or less compared to the old version, which only target figures with a figure cost of 3 or less. Field report has completely changed, so now instead of being based on command cards in your hand, it's a special action. You choose up to 2 friendly figures within 4 spaces that have 2 or less attack dice in their printed attack pool. The chosen figures become hidden. So she supports 2 dice figures very nicely with the hidden condition. And then she has a new ability, Figurehead. Before a friendly figure within 4 spaces suffers strain, you may suffer 1 strain to prevent 1 of that strain. So she can actually take all the strain as damage for somebody else, because strain is suffered 1 at a time. So if somebody within 4 spaces of her were to suffer like 3 strain, Mern can suffer 3 damage to prevent all of that strain from happening. So she's a nice little anti-strain card if you want access to that. And we've already talked about Channel the Fear of Kashyyyk and Channel the Force. So next we have a couple command cards to talk about. Knowledge and Defense. So this is the Force User card we talked about in the previous video. So Force User only 2, Rebel Force User only 2 points. Use while defending to add 1 black die to your defense pool. While this card is in your discard pile, your Force users gain Surge, redraw this card. So this is a very powerful card for Force user lists that they can redraw multiple times in a round with their surges. And then every time you redraw it, you're basically able to get an extra black die on defense. So this helps with a lot of the Rebel Force users being pretty squishy and not very resilient. This gives them some extra defense to help them deal with incoming attacks. Next up, we have Get Behind Me. We talked about this card already. It's available for Rebel Force users. Very good. And then finally, Biv, which actually... we didn't talk about Biv. How did Biv fall off the list? I think I must have skipped him. There he is, right below Obi-Wan. So Biv was updated for IACP, as many people are aware, long overdue. The original version from the FFG Skirmish is a bit of a meme for how bad it is. Here's the original version for those that want to see it. So the new version, 7 points, also has had the Hunter, actually he was a Hunter already, yeah, so he's still a Hunter Brawler. 7 points, he's got +1 blocks, Surge for +2 damage, and Surge for Blast 1, and he's gained the Multi-Fire ability, which is perform 2 attacks. Each attack must have a different target, but you apply -1 damage to each attack's results. And, excuse me, he now has a new Surge ability called Suppression. So after resolving a ranged attack, if it did not miss due to accuracy, so that means it could still have missed due to a dodge, but as long as it made range, the target suffers strain equal to the number of the target's block, evade, and dodge results, but to a maximum of 2. So generally, he can surge to deal 2 strain to the defender, since on average you get about 2 defense results on an attack. And his command card has also been updated. So new command card is Close and Personal. This was his original command card. However, because the Close and Personal ability was removed, this is his new command card, which has gained that name. It's 1 point used during your activation to move up to 2 spaces, then perform a melee attack without using an action, using 1 red and 1 yellow die. This attack uses only the following abilities: Pierce 1, Surge for +1, and Surge for Stun. So you don't get to use his normal abilities on that attack, so it's a nice little free attack for Biv. Alright, moving on, we're going to talk about some new figures in Rebels. And actually, I'm going to start at the bottom here, because Yoda is a really big new figure that has been added. So, Yoda is a 4-point figure. He is 9 health. He has no attack dice, so he can't attack unless you use a command card like Improvised Weapons or something that gives him a specific attack pool. He has speed 3 and a white defense die. So he has the abilities. He has 4 abilities. Calming Presence. At the start of a friendly Rebel figure's activation, that figure may remove 1 harmful condition and suffer 1 strain in its limit once per round. So that's really good if any of your Force users end up being stunned. Yoda can help remove that stun when they activate. Next up is Wisdom. At the start of your activation, you may draw 1 command card. If you do, place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. So really nice card drawing ability, especially if you're playing something like Jedi Luke, so you can dig for Son of Skywalker. Also, as we mentioned with Channel the Force, because that replaces the draw, the sentence, if you do place 1 command card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, no longer applies, so you get to get a free search off of Wisdom. So make sure you're checking out the Channel the Force combo. And then a special action, do or do not. Choose another friendly Rebel Force user within 4 spaces. That figure becomes focused. So he is able to focus Rebel Force users, just like most of the Rebel Care Package is able to. And then finally, one of his better abilities is Force Deflection. So after an attack targeting you or an adjacent friendly Rebel figure resolves, you may have the attacking figure suffer damage equal to the number of attack dice rolled. Limit once per round. So as I mentioned with Luke Skywalker or Jedi Luke, there is actually a fun deflection archetype list in IACP that involves Yoda, Jedi Luke, the command card Deflection, and then Ahsoka, who has the card Right Back at You, which can deal 3 damage to an attacker that's attacking her. So you can actually deal quite a bit of damage to anybody that decides to attack your Force users, at least once per round for most of them. And otherwise, this is an ability that keeps Yoda from just sitting in the deployment zone and drawing cards. It really rewards you for good positioning with Yoda, so he's a really fun figure to play. Alright, moving on. Next one we'll talk about is K2SO. So another fun figure that can actually be purchased from Legion. So K2SO, 5 points for a droid brawler spy. He's got 9 health, he's got speed 4 and a melee attack of red, green, and yellow. But he has an ability for +2 accuracy, surge for +2 damage, and surge for +1 accuracy and pierce 1. But he is a melee figure. So what's going on there? So he has vague and unconvincing. While defending, your player and your opponent cannot spend power tokens or play command cards. So he's got some built-in defensive tech there. Second ability, Cassian said I had to. Once per round, when a friendly leader enters an adjacent space, gain up to 1 damage power token. And then continually unexpected. This is a special action. If you have any combination of 2 damage power tokens and or surge power tokens, you can perform a ranged attack using your attack pool. So he is a fun little 5-point card for Rebels. And as you are guessing, we do have Cassian. So let's talk about Cassian next. So Cassian, also from Season 5, 6-point figure for a leader spy, 10 health, ranged attack of blue, blue, green, speed 4, white defense die, surge for +2 damage, surge for +2 accuracy, and surge for gain 2 damage power tokens. And he has 2 abilities. First one is Strike Team. After deployment, you and an adjacent friendly figure gain 2 movement points. Then, up to 4 friendly figures outside of your deployment zone each gain 1 damage power token. So obviously this works really well with Hera and her smooth landing ability, but it also works really well with Rebel Pathfinders, who we'll talk about next. So he's a really strong support figure for Rebels, giving out damage power tokens. His second ability is It Will Be Alright. Once during your activation, you may choose another friendly figure within 2 spaces that can be defeated. That figure is defeated. Then perform a move or attack without spending an action. So the reason for that can be defeated, of course, is because of Maul. We had to prevent that from being a combo. But he can basically sacrifice a figure to get a free attack or move action if that's better, but usually you would see this getting an extra attack. So that's Cassian. Oh, I forgot to talk about command cards. Oopsie. So let's go back. We'll talk about Yoda's command card really quick here. Yoda has a 2-point command card. Used on a friendly Rebel Force user within 4 spaces rolls any number of dice. Choose one of those dice and turn it to any other side. On that die, convert each dodge result to 2 block and 1 evade. He can use this on his own dice, important to remember. Also, Mara Jade is able to use this if you have Yoda in the same list. So that is Yoda's card. Next, we'll talk about K2SO. Blend In is his card. I don't know if you can see him, but he's in the picture there. Place this card on your deployment card at the start of a round, and you cannot be the target of an attack. Discard this card at the end of your activation or when you declare an attack. And so the reason it has both of those conditions for being discarded is that we wanted to make sure that as soon as K2SO performs an attack during his activation, he loses that cover. So you can't escape from things like return fire abilities or similar things where he attacks somebody but they still think he's like part of their team or something. We didn't want that to happen, and we also didn't want it to just stay on forever if he never declares an attack, so that's why it also drops off at the end of his activation. There's also a neat trick with that. If you use Take Initiative and Blend In, you can exhaust K2SO and he'll get 2 turns of protection from Blend In. Alright, next one is Cassian's card is Sniper Configuration. 1 point, special action, perform an attack. You may draw line of sight from any friendly figure, but still measure range from this figure. Apply +2 accuracy and pierce 2 to the attack results. This text is off, but it was fixed later on. I guess the new one wasn't included in Tabletop Admiral. But yeah, so that's his ability, is he can basically draw a line of sight from a friendly figure, but he still has to draw his own range that's needed. But he does get an extra +2 accuracy and pierce 2. Alright, moving on to the next one. Let's see, we said we'd talk about Rebel Pathfinder, so let's talk about those. These are a 6-point generic trooper, 2 figures, 3 figure cost. They are 6 health, speed 4, blue-green attack, and white defense die. +1 accuracy, surge for +3 accuracy, and surge for +2 damage. They have 3 abilities. First one is Infiltration. After deployment, you may move up to 6 spaces. So that works really nicely with Cassian. Then they have Lighted Up. While attacking, if the target of your attack did not have line of sight to you at the start of your activation, so just like Element of Surprise, you may re-roll up to 1 attack die. And Distracting Fire. After resolving an attack, if it did not miss, you may force the defender's group to activate next if able. Limit once per group per round. So those are Pathfinders. They're a fun little figure to play around and harass your opponent with. Alright, next up we have Z6, and this is important because this is our first squad upgrade, so I'll have to explain how that works. So the Z6 Trooper, this is a Trooper Heavy Weapon squad upgrade, which means it's an attachment that adds a figure to a group. So as you can see below the attachment bar there, it says a non-unique Rebel Trooper with group with 2 figures only is what you can attach this to. So currently, I believe the only options to attach this to are the Rebel Pathfinders and Echo-based Troopers. So it says it has 8 health, speed 4, and it has a green and yellow ranged attack. It's cost 5 points. And the way squad upgrades work is they're kind of like a companion, except that it adds the figure straight to the group. So now a 2-figure group is effectively a 3-figure group, but it keeps the original group's deployment costs. So if you put it on Pathfinders, the deployment group still costs 6, but it gains the figure cost of the group it's on. So this will have a figure cost of 3 if you put it on Rebel Pathfinders. However, if this is defeated, once the last figure, or once the figure is defeated, you score the cost of the squad upgrade attachment. We have a whole FAQ in the official changes document, so definitely check that out for more info on how squad upgrades work. But let's look at this one. So it has innate blast 1 damage, it has surge for +2 damage, and surge for +2 accuracy, and pierce 1. It has an ability Rotary Cannon, so before you declare an attack, you become focused, so it's effectively a green-green-yellow attacker. And then it has a special action for Auto Fire. Perform an attack, the defending figure adds 1 white die to its defense pool. This attack gains Surge. After the attack resolves, perform an attack targeting a figure within 3 spaces of the target space. So it's very similar to Barrage, except it puts the white die on the first attack, and you have to find a way to get the surge through the white die to get the second attack. So very conditional, but high risk, high reward. Okay, next up for new figures, Jyn Erso is added in Season 4. She is 7 points for a leader brawler, 12 health, speed 4, blue-green attack, and a white defense. She has a built-in Pierce 1, she has Surge for +1 accuracy and +1 damage, and a Surge for +1 damage. She has the abilities Trust goes both ways. At the start or end of your activation, choose an adjacent friendly figure. If you do, you and that figure recover 1 damage and gain 1 power surge token. Limit once per round. So this is an ability that she can only use if she is next to somebody else. So she likes to have a partner or somebody to team up with so she can gain that extra power token. And she also has some incidental damage recovery. And then she has a special action, Tonfa Strike. Move up to 2 spaces, then you may perform a melee attack using 1 red and 1 green die. Then you perform your ranged attack. So she can attack twice, effectively move 6 and attack twice with a melee attack, which is where those surge power tokens come in handy, so she can get those extra surges. She also likes to be focused, and it gives her a Pierce 1 on both. She can also actually move 2 spaces and just to perform the ranged attack. She doesn't have to perform a melee attack to get the move 2 spaces from this. That is optional. So that's Jyn Erso, and she does have a command card, I remember this time. Jyn Erso's command card is Built on Hope. This is 1 point. Use during your activation to look at the top 3 cards of your command deck, place 1 of them into your hand and the others on the top or bottom of your command deck in any order. And the second ability is when this card is discarded from your command deck, you redraw it. So if it gets strained off of your deck, or if like Admiral Thrawn decides to pitch it off the top of your deck, you get to redraw it to your hand, and it really stacks your deck really nicely and gives you the best card out of your top 3. So nice 1-point deck manipulation card for Jyn. Next up, we have the Atrt, which is a figure available from Legion. This is an 8-point trooper vehicle with 13 health, blue, green, yellow, ranged attack, speed 5, and a black die. It's massive. It is, I should mention, a 2x2 figure, so the same base size as a Nexu or Jabba the Hutt. It has +1 block, and it has Surge for +2 damage and Surge for Pierce 2. It has abilities Vanguard. While attacking, if the target is within 3 spaces of you, you may replace 1 die in your attack pool with 1 red die. So similar to the Echo-based troopers. And it has Run and Gun. While attacking during your activation, you may re-roll up to 1 attack die unless you are occupying a space you are occupying at the start of your activation. So basically, it rewards you for moving and then attacking rather than just staying in one place and attacking from a static position. So yeah, that's the Atrt. Add some nice vehicle options to Rebels. And finally, we have a new Cara Dune. This is a 9-point figure from Season 6. She is 9 points for a Trooper Brawler heavy weapon with 14 health, a blue, red, yellow attack, speed 4, and black defense. She has +1 accuracy. She has Professional, which is the ability that lets her reroll while attacking. She has Surge for +2 and Surge for Blast 2 damage. She has 3 abilities. The first one is Shock and Awe. When you declare an attack, you may replace 1 yellow die in your attack pool with 1 red die. That limits once per round. So she can be a blue, red, red attacker if she wants to. But it limits her damage output if she's attacking multiple times with things like Call the Vanguard or Parting Blow, which is important for this next ability. Smash. Once during your activation, choose 1 adjacent hostile figure and will roll 1 red die. That figure suffers damage equal to the damage result. Then, if it is a small figure, you may push it 1 space to a space adjacent to you. So she can move something next to her, but she can't push something away from her. Next is Hunker Down. While defending, if you share a corner or edge with a space containing blocking, impassable, or difficult terrain. So basically, if you're adjacent to a space with blocking, impassable, or difficult terrain, but we couldn't use that wording because of how the rules work, apply +1 evade to your defense results. So if she's in or next to a space that has terrain, she gets an extra evade. So Cara, very, very good figure, able to self-start Parting Blows. Since she is a brawler, also gets access to the strong heavy weapons of Overwhelming Impact. And those are all the Rebel cards. Oh, and she has a command card, of course, we should mention. So, use when attack targeting you is declared. This is 1 point. If you share an edge or corner with a space containing blocking, impassable, or difficult terrain, so just like her Hunker Down ability, interrupt to move up to 4 spaces to a space adjacent to the attacker, then the attacker suffers 2 damage. So, a nice little interrupt. Definitely keep this card in mind when you're attacking Cara. Don't attack her with a figure that has 2 health left or less, because she might just kill you before you can finish your attack. That's it for Rebels. We're going to talk about Imperials next.